Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio with Rick Thompson, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, welcome to Life Repair Recovery Talk Radio. I am your host, Rick Thompson. This show is about sobriety and recovery. Each week, we discuss a different topic relating to addiction with the aim that you can gain some insight, guidance, and hope from our discussions. We focus the show in 3 different segments. 1, the viewpoint of the families dealing with the family members suffering from alcoholism and addiction so they may assist them in obtaining treatment. 2, the psychological trauma and emotional damage alcoholics and addicts and their families experience. 3, the role of the insurance companies and associate providers and their part in the recovery process. Welcome to the broadcast. Tonight's topic for the show is let me get this right. The opioid epidemic and its impact in present-day society. Tonight, we have a very special guest on the show, Dr. Lisa Steele, who is the new executive director of CLARE Foundation. CLARE is a nonprofit organization providing affordable, evidence-based treatment for alcoholism, substance abuse, and behavioral health, serving the West Side and Greater Los Angeles for nearly 50 years. Dr. Steele is an expert in the recovery treatment field. She has dedicated the last 30 years of her life to bridge the gap between mental health and substance abuse treatment services so that people with addictions could obtain treatment through all the avenues. She's here today to talk about the opioid epidemic. I've got to say that 15 or 20 times to get it right. Hello, Dr. Steele. Welcome to the broadcast. How are you?
Hi, Rick. Thank you for having me.
Sure. I'd like to start off and ask you if you could please share with us your personal, if you have a mission statement for CLARE, and a bit of your story of how you got into all of this and background and so forth and so on.
Sure. Well, CLARE believes in offering affordable care and compassionate care for people with addictive disorders and behavioral health disorders. And for me personally, I started about 30 years ago, as you had said, working with people who have addiction and behavioral health problems. And I was really frustrated with the system because no matter what door people would go through, it seemed to be the wrong door. People with substance use problems would go to mental health, and mental health providers would say you need to be sober first, and people who would come to substance abuse programs would say, hey, I have a mental health condition as well, and they'd say you need to go get psychiatric care first, and people were falling through the cracks and dying. So I went and spoke with the National Institute of Mental Health as an advocate and an advisor on how to treat both co-occurring disorders. And I started to do an internship while I was in my doctorate program in a substance abuse treatment facility. And what I found was my supervisor had said, why do you want to do an internship in a substance abuse treatment program? And I said, I don't know. It really just sounds kind of interesting, and I think I'd like to work with people in recovery. And her response to me was, no, people don't just work in recovery. There's a reason why you're here. You need to figure out what that is. I've been saying that ever since then to everyone I've hired, by the way, because miraculously, 3 weeks into my internship, my father called me from a detox to tell me that he had been in treatment for addiction to opioids. And at the time, I was completely floored. I had no idea. I mean, up until recently, opiate problems have been like the best hidden secret of addictions. It's not easy to see as it would be with someone who's drinking all the time or shooting up. Taking pills is not something that you normally would just see people all of a sudden fall down from. But what we are learning more and more recently, of course, is this is such an epidemic problem for those reasons and many more.
Right.
So I guess really my whole career has been around wanting to help fix people or help them fix themselves, even though I lost my father to his addiction and other members of my family as well.
What did your father die from, Lisa?
He opiate addiction. So he was up to about 30 to 40 codeine pills a day.
Whoa. And
it was really a long time coming. He was doing that for a long time before it actually, eventually took his life. And so I'm really a strong advocate for the need for treatment for obvious reasons. But also for the hidden faces of addiction, the family members, especially children of addicts, because we forget about the impact on kids and this cycle that continues when it's not addressed as a family disease.
Right. So What kind of led to your present position at CLARE? I mean, can you tell us how you went from one job position to another, which got you where you are?
Sure. Early in my career, I decided that while I loved working with people in recovery, one person at a time wasn't enough for me. I was more about helping to move the industry, because we weren't doing things in a very professional way when this industry first started. And part of it was, because of insurance companies and other politics involved. So people would come for substance abuse treatment, and what would happen is doctors would give them a diagnosis of major depression because substance abuse wasn't a disorder that was approved by insurance companies. And there was sort of a how do you play the game kind of thing going on, which actually was interesting because that was sort of the culmination of evidence that brought about healthcare change back in the day. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. And that changed Medicaid or Medi-Cal. And I think we're going to go through another change soon. But I just felt that there was more advocacy needed to be able to have any door be the right door for people entering into recovery. And that was not happening. So each position that I went from organization to organization was with that in mind, being able to work for an organization that would allow advocacy efforts and were willing to take a stance and make a difference. And I think that CLARE's absolutely that organization.
Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about this epidemic of opioid addiction?
Well, it's interesting. It's sort of, as I started, kind of as the best kept secret. We talk now about the opiate addiction epidemic, but really this has been a significant problem for a really long time, and it's been masked by many factors. I think the first is that we start off with decades ago with that old adage of an aspirin a day keeps the doctor away.
Right.
We kind of grow up with this philosophy that if you take a pill for something, it will make you feel better, especially Western medicine. And I think that has led to, I need to get better quickly so that I can go back to work and I can do my duties as a wife and as a mother. And there's all these responsibilities that we have, and we're trying to just get a quick fix. And I think that's translated into taking medication to feel better for a variety of things. I mean, it's interesting. Back when my daughter was little, I think she was 5 or 6, and my husband and I went out for dinner. We came home, and she said, "Mommy, I just saw this commercial on TV, and it was in a cartoon format." And she said, and we have to get this thing because it makes you feel really good. It makes you feel really happy. She says, "Hold on, let me get my piece of paper. I wrote it out." So she says, it's I don't know how to say it, but it's ZOLOFT. And I thought it was the cutest thing. Right. And then I thought to myself, wow, isn't that amazing that pharmaceutical companies are even really marketing towards younger age with their cartoon and animated type commercials. And as funny as that is, it was really the beginning of sort of a scary revelation for me about how the media is used to market medications.
Right.
And so I think that that coupled with, growing caseloads in medical offices, and doctors can't manage all of that. So they're quick to give medication and enough medication to last for a long period of time so that people don't have to keep coming back to the office. So you'll hear all the time about people who go for a toothache, have a wisdom tooth pulled, or have some kind of pain and are given a month's supply with 3 refills.
Right.
And, that starts with adolescents when they go to the dentist.
Which is not good because that, gives you the automatic thought process, I take this pill, things will get better.
Exactly
versus
right.
dealing with something and not having to have the filter.
Exactly right. And because of my history and my family of addiction, every time I go to the doctor, I don't take narcotics. I just don't want to risk my genetics,
Of course.
But the fight that goes on between me and healthcare professionals, because they're so eager to give medication, no matter what I say, is really quite ridiculous. And if you take someone who's in the throes of their addiction, how do you say no to that? That's a no-win situation. I think that other big challenge is that many independent physicians groups now, they base their bonus structure for their doctors on patient satisfaction. Mm-hmm. And on the surface, that's great, right? Because you want to have good bedside manner, you want to be supportive and give time